Of all the songs I could have picked.
Started as an East Coast vibe, now I'm going worldwide. We got this bitch going crazy. I used to take the Mazda for a drive, now I'm on the 405 like it's fuck you, pay me.
Hi, my name is Heather, aka Stoney Baloney, and this is the Stoney Baloney Podcast. If you're expecting anything from this podcast, don't. But if there's one thing you will learn about me, is you never know what Stoney you're gonna get. This is the journey of one spicy, sarcastic entrepreneur who came out of her cannabis closet and has been blazing through life ever since. As a multi-passionate person who has lived from one coast to another, I know there is more to life than just a 9-to-5 grind. I hope to inspire others to try new things no matter how old you are, start doing things you love and turn them into your side hustles, and to simply stop giving a fuck how others want you to live your life. I have a very special guest today. This is my dear friend, Melinda.
Woo! I just wooed myself.
You did. You are the most vibrant guest I've had so far, I feel like, right off the bat.
That's weird. I don't feel like I'm that vibrant. That's not true.
So we've been friends since high school. And today's episode is gonna be like a spooky one because Halloween is coming up. Ooh. And I can see ghosts. I believe in the other side. And Melinda has been my friend that I've connected with my whole life that I can go to about this stuff. She like sees shit. And we probably together have some crazy stories, but recently I started taking meditation training. I'm also bringing a medium into my salon. So I've been doing haunted history tours. Tonight's my first one with a medium, and we're going to have walk-ins. They're already like they stress me out because I'm not a people person. And then I walk around talking to strangers for 2 hours. I totally have to take myself out of my body and to be able to function. I get really high beforehand.
I was going to say.
I'm high as fuck right now. I was late on my way here, and late because usually I get here and I smoke weed for like an hour beforehand. I get really high. I have time to like chill out and like pull it together. And then I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to smoke in there. So I'm going to fucking rip it up. And then I get in here and I'm like, uh-oh. But today I took half a hash gummy as well. So it's funny because I wish I had just one smoke shop I could say is like my sponsor today, but I've been smoking and eating from everybody. So we'll talk about those, but I'm also with this medium going to be taking classes with her and learning what my intuitions are, where my clairvoyance is. I know I can communicate with the other side and I've seen things. However, I feel I get into a deep dive and I start questioning it and then I start freaking myself out. Like last night was my first meditation in a long time. And every 2 seconds, like the cat brushing up against me, fluffing of the tail, I'd be like, or I don't know. And it's just crazy how you can take your body out of what's going on. Yeah. So it was crazy to do that, but I feel I'm on this new journey. And I was telling you last night, I'm thinking of journaling every day because I feel those are two very powerful things to be taking that can transform your life. So I'm going to write a book. I always say I'm writing books, but...
I mean, you do.
I do. I have a couple books. So we met in high school. Do you remember how we met?
Yeah. We met on LiveJournal, like a couple of little emotional dorks. I feel like we had mutual, you would add people's friends on LiveJournal and be like, hey.
Yes. So we were like the pioneers of mind fucking blown. All I talk about in these ghost tours is like the pioneers that lived in Churchville and like Rochester. We're the fucking pioneers of the internet.
I was like, wait, we're pioneers? And then I pictured us in like little costumes. And I was like, what?
We are pioneers of the internet.
Yeah, pre-Facebook, pre-Instagram. Back in the day, LiveJournal was the cool thing if you were an emotional teen who liked to write about your day.
Well, I would say I had about maybe 8 followers, pretty much more than the likes I get on all my posts. So,
jeez. Remember when you got a MySpace and I think I still have a picture of you holding a piece of paper that says like, I have 10 friends.
Oh,
what was it called on MySpace? Friends?
Top 8, your top 8 something.
And now MySpace doesn't even exist.
And then if you were mad at someone, they might have slipped off of that list. But I feel you have pretty consistently, we have so Melinda and I just had a breakups.
I was explaining this to someone the other day. Oh, my tattoo artist. I was like, every 5 years we have like a blowout fight and then we don't talk for like 6 months to a year. And then we get over ourselves.
That's literally the longest fucking time. But I will have to say, and this is kind of a big thing of why I'm an advocate for cannabis, I was a different person at that time.
Me too.
And it's kind of crazy. Kenny always says, like, he thinks the 30s is when I found myself. Like, when I go to a concert, it's like I do cosplay. Like, I play the part. I am Stevie fucking Nicks. I'm floating around. I had 2 mojito. Like, usually I don't drink, but Stevie Nicks was a vibe. Kenny was ready to turn into a feminist. Like, I think he may have had tears coming down his face. He also had an emotional moment in the show where he, like, turned and looked at me and he's like, thank you. Like,
Aww.
You do so much as a woman or, like, some fucking shit. I'm like, Kenny, he's all trying to bump and grind on me. Like, I'm not trying to grind at Stevie Nicks.
You do so much as a woman. Ooh.
I just felt him, like, getting closer and closer and starting to bump, and I'm like, not in Rhiannon, man. This is my fucking moment.
Not exactly grinding music either.
I'm sitting here like waving to Stevie, and I never do that at shows. I never fucking do that shit, but it was just an experience, and it was the best seats we've ever had for a show. We're in the hockey arena in Buffalo, and whatever the fucking Sabres bullshit is. Go Leafs, go, motherfuckers. But still waiting for Tim Hortons to sponsor me.
As I sit here with my not Tim Hortons.
I just heard that like, that's not it. That was more like Garth, which is this side of me. Wayne and Garth.
Oh my God.
But yeah, Stevie was an experience. So we just had a breakup, and this is like the first time we've seen each other. I said 5 years when we walked in.
It's definitely been like 2 years.
Well, I want to say maybe even closer to 3. Because
it happened in August.
She knows the fucking month.
I know the date. I know exactly what time. No. No, but it happened in August 2021. This has been just over 2 years.
Well, I had just had a baby, and I would say I was super struggling with postpartum.
Probably.
I am also a very independent person, and I talk about this all the time on the podcast. I always say I'm a bad mom because I feel I crave independence more than most people.
Isn't that a good thing?
I don't know. I mean, that's what everyone's saying, but I fucking never feel good about it. But now that I'm not working at that place anymore, I have so much more time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think I have ADD or something. And
I think we all do.
To a certain extent, for sure. But I just can't fucking, like, I have to be in the mood. Like, if I want to read that book, I'll look at it for, like, 10 months. But I just have to be in the fucking mood. I want nothing more. But when you read a book, like, how do normal people read books? Do they read the whole book word for word? Or do they sometimes be like, this is boring, I'm going to skip over this?
I have ADHD, so I don't know.
So you don't read books? You read books?
I read books.
You read books?
The way I read books is I'm either into it or I'm not. And I can tell pretty quick. So I can start a book, and if I'm not one of those people who will force myself to read something, being like, well, everybody else said it was good, or, you know. So if I get to all right, sometimes I read halfway through a book and the second half is shit, and I'm like, well, fuck this book. Yep. But some people have to finish the book.
So
It's not really what you asked me. Sorry.
well, no, that's kind of what it is. I guess that I feel the expectation is you have to read start to finish.
Nope.
And I don't have that capacity. But kind of backing up to the live journal days, we go so far back that your radio didn't work in your car? Or was it like the tape player, or?
It was just a straight radio. There was no CD player, no tape deck.
So OG days, and
I forgot the radio didn't work.
I had this big boom box that I put in the back seat, and we would listen to that. That was also the time where you could like record songs from the radio or whatever onto tapes. I had the best mixes. And let me tell you, my parents, Brian and Jennifer, up on that fucking hill, get antsy, and they start cleaning out the house, and they start taking my stuff to Salvation Army, like my 90s gold
They took your mix
artifacts. No, they took my dad. So the boombox was in the garage for like ever. And of course, when I go and say, I want to bring the boombox, the Shade, because it's my vibe.
Yeah.
And he said he gave it to Salvation Army. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like looking.
Yeah, it was just
and
like
I
eBay.
saw one, and it looked just like it. And I was like, it's probably my fucking boombox, and someone's selling it for $50.
$50?
Dude, it's fucking a gem. I told you, artifact. And they've done it to my Super Nintendos. I've had every game of regular and Super Nintendo. They fucking piss me off, but
Yeah, that's horrible. I had all of my dad's video game stuff. I gave it to Joel though.
like regular Nintendo?
I forget which consoles, but I think there was a Sega Genesis and N64. My dad wasn't really a Nintendo dude, other than N64. I know he had a Nintendo at some point, but
So
there might have been a Super Nintendo.
we had the boombox. We'd drive around with the boombox jamming. Were you a vegan then? Or you were on a calorie diet? We're like fucking in junior. I was a junior because I was going to Wamoko, so I was a junior.
Yeah, we were both going to Wamoko. It was when I first got obsessed with eating healthy. So I don't know if I didn't count calories or anything. I just we would go to McDonald's every day.
That was my shit. And I also we would go together, but I don't think we left together.
I can't remember. But I just know I would eat like a yogurt parfait from McDonald's, and I thought that was healthy. And it's like pure sugar.
I was driving a 94 Ford Tempo, and my parents told me I couldn't drive it to Wamoko because of the shape that it was in. I could only drive it to school and back, which was literally like a minute down the road. And I drove it to Wamoko. I had a full car, like 5 or 6 of us, and we went over the bridge, and the whole exhaust from the muffler up to the whatever it is, the whole thing ripped off on the bridge. So the car was so loud. Luckily, we were able to drive it back to Churchville, but we had this long thing like hanging out the car. It was a moment.
I wasn't there for that.
You weren't there
Must've
for
been-
that.
I quit Womoko, so I was probably.
You quit Womoko?
Yeah, it's just like the book thing. If I don't like something, I'm not doing it.
I thought, though, you started doing cause and then you did the student thing or the kids?
Switched to early childhood, and I don't like kids all that much, it turns out.
Yes, I am starting to do like more kid events now that Harry's in kindergarten, and I just feel out of place. I just feel
it's
like
other people's kids. Your own kid is different, I think.
But I feel when I walk in, like I'm a vibe. Look at my fucking hair. The people at the nail salon were like, "Oh, I thought you were younger because of your hair," and I was like, "Definitely not because of the bags under my fucking eyes." But I think because of how I dress, and like I said, Kenny said I've come into more of myself probably in my 30s. I don't give a shit. Like, if my ass is hanging out, my fucking ass is hanging out. It's fucking hot outside. I don't want to wear anything. Thick thighs save lives. But when we were in high school, and I've probably touched this topic before, but like if you were 13 years old and you had boobs, like you got in trouble for wearing tank tops. It's not like that these days.
No.
Picked up someone's daughter with them, and it was like a movie scene. Like, I'm just looking around, and it looks like these kids are on a college campus. Like, just so much skin showing. And that just didn't fly with us. Like, there was people that did what they could to show skin. But I always got in trouble because I was more developed up here than other girls. And I feel like that's sexualizing a young child's body.
Yeah.
And you make it a sexual thing.
Yeah, whose problem is that really? The adult or the kid who's just trying to be comfortable?
Definitely the adult. And people don't look at it like that. They just automatically go to like, oh, look at that 12-year-old with her fucking ass hanging out. Like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I don't know. I tune young people out, I think.
I look at the ground. I fucking hate making eye contact with people, especially like Wegmans. I've gone into Wegmans with some friends, and everyone they see. I'm the person that, I've got like a bubble of people that I might be excited to see. It's nothing against anybody. One, I'm telling you, I'm probably way too fucking high. Two, I just want to get in and I just want to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's why I just love living in the country. You have like your bubble. But so spooky shit, it's Halloween. I'm gonna stop talking about myself. I am interested in this spiritual journey to see if this stuff is bullshit or if I'm not crazy and there is like another side. And one way I try and think about it, because when I do these ghost tours, I always say, like, does anybody here, like, believe in ghosts? And almost everyone raises their hands, which is surprising to me because I have, like, such a big range of people.
Yeah.
I say 21 and over, and then people are like, well, my daughter wants to come, but she's 18. Like, why is it 21 and over? And it's like, well, because I swear a lot. And
I think 18-year-olds could handle cursing.
So, like, if they say it's okay,
yeah,
it's fine. But also, like, I've mentioned things like mediums have told me that things have happened in my house that are big things.
Yeah.
So Kenny comes on my tours every once in a while. And last time he came a couple weeks ago, he said, you can't say that. And I said, well, that's what they told me. Like, I'm telling the people what they fucking told me.
Why I know what you're talking about. Why wouldn't you be able to say that?
I guess
Thing
it's
that
just, I guess he can't, blah, blah, blah. So,
because it would be triggering to people, maybe.
well, so now in the tours, I warn the people, but I do it in an approach where I'm like, all right, well, my husband told me that I shouldn't say this, so I'm not going to say it. So then that's when everybody goes, just say it, just say it. They get like mad. Such a crowd. But I talk about all the time, like, I think at a very young age, I had vivid dreams that I remember, that I connected deeply with, dreams about the Vietnam War, people that I knew, like my parents' friends, I felt a deep connection with, and, like, I knew one of them, like, had gone to Vietnam, which is crazy to say right now, because yesterday I was thinking, I was explaining to the medium that I could picture in that moment when I was talking to her that I had like a row of guides in front of me. They say that you have spirit guides. And I feel most of the people that I can see, or that the energy that I feel that's around me, are people that I don't know. And in a way that kind of makes me not feel like lonely, but there are people that have passed away in my life that I miss tremendously, think about them every single day of my life, but I just don't feel like they are there.
Yeah. I think that it's my understanding that people that are part of your soul family can't really be on your spirit guide team, if you will, because they're too close to you, so they would be biased in guiding you.
And I would have never thought of something like that. So, and if anyone is listening and you don't believe in ghosts, I am inviting you right now to just throw that away for this episode. Just for this episode. Fucking get over it. And just be open to it. So if you are thinking about the other side, like, think of it as energies. Don't think of it as actual people. Think of it as actual energy. I can go into a room and I feel absolutely fine. Shade, like, I hate to admit it, there's times where I fucking didn't lock the door or had the window open for 2 fucking weeks. I have a lot of faith in people, but there's something about being at shade at night where there's like a deep energy, and those buildings are old, like early 1900s. So a lot of shit probably happened on this land, and there was stuff here years before people were even fucking walking here. But when I'm driving, I'll think, okay, I could take a picture of myself right now and send it to somebody and they get it like that. So somewhere there's this fucking space and there's these channels and whatever, and it's getting there. Like, that's how I feel energy is.
Right. You can't see the channels. And I mean, we probably can't get into like talking about different dimensions and the fact that time probably isn't linear, but even just that, like, if time isn't linear, then you have like a physical space, and there'd be like layers of time where the 1800s are still present in that space. We're just not in that, whatever it is, energy channel. So sometimes you might get like some crossover where you see.
I think I cross over a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm living with, I don't know if I'm another person, or I don't know if it's me at a different time, but in San Francisco. I have like a strong connection with San Francisco. I was actually telling the medium yesterday during our class that I have dreams every once in a while. Like, I go to this place every few years. So this is how my spiritual journey started, was dreams. But I've never been to Greece. I've seen pictures of Greece, but I don't know for sure if it's Greece. Well, I'm Polish, Czechoslovakian family. There's Irish somewhere on my mom's side, but my ancestry DNA, I came back 70% Polish. And She's like, oh, that explains it. 70% Polish. I got like Czechoslovakian and like a mix of stuff. But I had like 7.8% or something of Greek and Balkan. And I was like, that's fucking weird because I have dreams and I'm like picturing this place. And just because of pictures that I've seen of there, mainly because of like the Kardashians posting or something. But I don't follow them like that. But it's just weird that there's that connection. So did I get a piece of DNA? Obviously, I got a piece of DNA from people that live there. Did I get their memories? Like, do I have dreams about what they experienced and saw?
Probably. I believe that. Also, I laughed because when you were saying, I've seen pictures of Greece, I've never been there. It was like Greece, New York in my mind. And I was like, what?
Definitely been there. So then it's also that you can so at Shade, like I'll go in that back room and I just feel very uncomfortable. Like I do not feel safe. I can literally leave my salon unlocked. I don't anymore, so don't even fucking think about it. But I literally leave that shit unlocked and I feel fine. But there's something about that back room at night that's just a heavy energy. And I have done yoga there a couple times. Now that I have the time and I'm going to be doing more yoga and meditation classes. And honestly, meditation might be my thing. But anyway, there's something in that room. And it's going to be interesting what the medium feels when she comes tonight. But that's another thing. Like you can walk into a room and you have in a bad energy, you're just uncomfortable. You don't feel like you're alone. Whereas you can be in a whole house or in this room and you absolutely feel fine. You can't deny energies.
Have you tried to clear it at all? Or do you think you'll, after the reading, have the medium try to do anything? Because I would be like, get the fuck out.
See, I did used to sage for a little bit, but I'll say I also feel you shouldn't be walking around saging shit if you don't know what you're doing or what you're like asking not or not to do. I feel, and that is one of the first things we talked about yesterday was like protecting yourself from bad energies and stuff like that. And she said something about, God, I don't even know how to explain it. I wish I knew what she said. It's just something about like, I don't fucking know.
It was about protection?
Yes.
Was it about tools?
Like how some people they don't just come in for everybody. Like if you're not accepting, like some people want to be in touch with the other side and they'll just let anything in. And I feel like if your mind is not open to just letting all this shit in, I feel I don't have the power per se, quote unquote, to bring in like a big energy like that. I get in a meditation for maybe 60 seconds with my eyes closed and I fucking get scared and like all night during my meditation, I was like, huh.
This isn't really, I mean, it's related, but it's not a direct response. I think that protection tools are great. Like sage. I don't think you necessarily need them because I think some people need them because they need the physical object there to believe that the energy is there. But I think you could just use your hand. And if you believe your hand has the energy to make things leave, you could literally just go around clapping and saying, get the fuck out.
The way you moved your hand was powerful.
Oh.
Like I felt that. Like I fucking will use my hand. I used my hand when I slapped that candy dish off the fucking desk. Some people will know what I'm talking about. So I started feeling that a lot when I was at my grandma's house, and I have a strong connection there, and I have a birthmark on my shoulder that's identical to one on my grandma's face. It looks like someone put their thumbprint on us. And I feel like that's such a distinct looking. I don't know if you remember my birthmark.
What?
Should I well, I feel like it's a distinct birthmark.
Wait, where is it?
On my shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Should I show you?
Yeah.
Should we show the birthmark? I almost flipped the whole fucking table.
I thought you...
Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a thumbprint.
I'm trying to think if I remember your grandma's.
Let me see my birthmark.
I thought you said it was on your butt, and you were like, you remember that, right? And I was like,
So this is funny, but my neighbor used to come over to my pool all the time, and we had a similar upbringing. Like, both of our parents were strict. So it was, like, good to have somebody that lived next door. Plus, we lived on a hill with 3 houses or 4 houses. So it was, like, an awkward spot. Buffalo Road is shit. People don't pay attention. So it's not really one of those roads that you walk down. So she would come to my house all the time, and there's been a few times where we've said, like, hey, I'm going to her house, they're going to my house. Our parents didn't really talk, so I knew they weren't going to, like, call them and say, like, is Heather over there or whatever. So we would cut through the cornfield. Well, let me tell you what. We were cutting through that cornfield one time, and that's the first time I saw a shadow person.
ew.
And it's like a vivid memory. The shadow that this thing cast, but it's like a shadow, but it's literally walking, and it's like clear. It was super tall, and it looked like it was wearing a hat. And it's funny because people describe sometimes shadow people as like wearing hats or something.
Yeah, the Hat Man.
And I know someone can easily say, like, you saw your own reflection. No, this shit was 3 motherfucking D. Is that 3D or 4D?
I don't know what you're doing.
What when people, like, walk, like, is that 3D?
Yeah.
4D? One of those.
4D is not a thing we can see. There's like on.
I thought there was, like, 4D TV.
I don't know. I'm not the person to ask about that either. I have trouble with my email for work.
So that was the first time I saw a shadow person. And that was creepy. It's like instilled in my head like a memory. We always talk about, you introduced me to Seth Speaks. It's a book that I think people should read instead of the Bible.
Yeah.
Is that a bold statement to say, or would you?
Yeah, people who like the Bible will be pissed. It's funny because Joel, my boyfriend, introduced me to those books, but for some reason, I keep thinking you found those books first.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
Probably because I think that you finished reading Seth Speaks before I did, because I took a break, and so I started reading that in May 2020, and then my dad died in June 2020, and I picked the book up maybe in July. Obviously, I wasn't in a great place to be reading a book for a little bit, but when I picked it back up, I had stopped right before the part of the book that talks about life after death and what happens. And it was like, there was no reason why I stopped reading that book. It wasn't the type of situation where I was bored. I don't know. And then I picked it back up when I needed it the most.
This book is it blew my mind, and like, you just have to read it.
You could read them like 5 times and get new information every single time.
Shit ton of information every time. So that's kind of, I feel like I'm going to read that again. I have to read a lot of books for my meditation class.
You should probably talk about what those books are about, because people are going to be like, Seth Speaks, what's that?
Do you want to do that?
Sure. Well, and also, they were written in Elmira, New York, which I don't think Joel knew. And then when I found that out, that's where my dad is from. And the house where those books were written is like 2 minutes from where my grandparents and my aunt are buried.
Which is crazy.
It's
So
crazy.
people used to come from around the country to come see Jane Roberts, who her and her husband were basically playing with an Ouija board one day, which Melinda's the only person I've ever done an Ouija board with.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
That was the only time.
Well, yeah, so they started using this Ouija board, and then Seth is an entity's name. He started coming through, and, I mean, using a Ouija board to get that much information from is crazy. It's so slow. And then Jane Roberts figured out how to channel from there. She didn't need the Ouija board anymore. And so she would just go, she would have different channels available. She would go into one, and then her husband, Robert Butts, would transcribe the information that Seth gave.
So in a way, it was her guide. Seth was her guide. Seth was an entity. Seth is his own thing.
And they knew, it was like all of them were connected in past lives. If you believe in like soul family theory, they would have been part of the same soul family.
Is it weird to think about or compare that, like, Kenny said it the other day, he's like, you talk to yourself all the time. I get it from my dad. But I do talk to myself all the time. I think everybody does. But I think it may be more common that there are people that talk to themselves more than others do. Mine is more internally, but I think a lot externally as well. But what if, some of those people that I'm talking to, like, it is me, but it's me in this life in San Francisco. Or it is that part of me, like these pieces of our ancestors and these pieces of these energies. I think in Seth Speaks, they talk about people who pass, and everybody kind of takes what they want when you're born and kind of gives it to you, and that molds who you are. Like, what if this is, a message and part of the energy from my great-grandma?
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
I was going to say, you kind of talked about a few different things there. Do you think the San Francisco thing, do you think that was a past life?
It could be Full House.
My past life in Full House?
It could be like I grew up watching Full House.
Yeah.
So maybe there's things I remember. It's when I think of these things, it doesn't remind me of Full House, but our friend Linda, they just got a new house, and when I walked in, I was like, oh, this reminds me of San Francisco. And her family is from California, and I've never been to San Francisco. I lived in Cali, but I didn't go to San Francisco that far north. And it's totally different. Like, LA, different than San Diego. San Diego, way different than Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo. Like, it's all fucking different. But they just... I forgot what I was talking about. Melinda is my first guest that doesn't smoke weed, by the way. We're like 35 minutes in, I think, and that's the first time I've brought that up, that you do not consume marijuana.
I didn't know if you would bring it up or not, since the premise of your show is...
It's a sore subject.
You wouldn't want me to be high because I'd be under this little table convinced that I was dying, and
it's okay that I feel I love my friendships with my friends that don't smoke weed because it's just a different view. Like, they know she's ripped. But I smoke more now than I ever have my whole entire life. I smoke all day, every day. But I don't need it. Like, there are days that I wake up and I say, I'm not going to smoke today. But that point of time when I was postpartum and we kind of, like, broke up, I was taking a lot of medications, and ever since really then, maybe like a couple months after, it's like I can't do this anymore. Like I'm either have no emotions whatsoever or it's not helping. It's just making me feel more depressed. And that's kind of when I found yoga and started doing yoga more and smoking more weed. And if I have to smoke weed all day, I fucking have to smoke weed all day. It's not like I'm incapable and I can't like, all right, I have to pick up my son in a couple hours. Like, maybe I'm going to stop smoking at 1 o'clock just because it's illegal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely wish that I could smoke. I think I'm somebody who I just kind of am high naturally sometimes. I'm very sensitive to energy and especially substances, So
the medium yesterday said, when talking about like energies and stuff like that, it's interesting you say that because she was saying, you know, you'll hear people say like, I did 2 readings and I'm like exhausted. She said, you're supposed to use that spirit energy. It's supposed to energize you. It's not supposed to drain you. Like you can use spirit energy, but you could also use your energy.
Yeah.
And you should use more of the energy that they're given the messages with in a way. Which could kind of be scary if those are bad energies.
Yeah.
But I feel like when I was having encounters with Betsy, which weird story, the people that bought the house, I knew they had like older kids, the house that we used to rent. I knew they had older kids. I didn't know they had younger kids. And there was an event at Harry's school the other day. So I walked in the building. It's like, oh, those people are here. Not those people like they're anything, but like, it almost felt like the house was letting me know, like, hey, the people, I feel that house is always, we got away from it. I was told from someone who's learning their psychic abilities that they feel we should have gotten out of there. And we absolutely should. Like, that house, like, was gross. It was falling apart, but I had this dream to buy it, and it was a piece of shit. So I thought we could make out and like buy it for cheap. And then
make out.
Then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And then the house tripled in price. And it was like, well, there's too much wrong with this house for it to, like, there's just no way. Plus, financially, we weren't even close to being in a situation where we could buy at the time. But
do you think the house was trying to influence you because you were in it?
I think the house... Possibly. I think that house had a strong pull, but there was definitely different spirits in that house. Like, I felt a male presence in the kitchen, which I think now may be this Zebulon Phillips guy. And then I felt more of like an entertaining energy at the back of the house, which I was told that was built as an extension. But I think when you look at maps, like, that house was always fucking huge. So either there was an extension and they knocked it down and then built it back up, but there's so much energy in that land.
Yeah, I think that whole part of Churchville in general has always felt, I mean, I'm biased because I went to school right there and we went to St. Vincent de Paul. But Black Creek, even like across Black Creek where that old factory is, like that whole area just has an intense energy, I think.
We went to Catholic school together, by the way, as we mentioned the old...
Catholic school? Oh, like religious education? I was like, wait, I didn't go to Catholic school.
We went to church school every Sunday.
I was an altar server.
But she was a year older than me. I feel like we have, like, it's funny, some of our fights, so your screen name for a little bit was Viva la Mile, M-E-L-I.
Melly, because my name is Melinda. Viva la Mili. That's how you thought it was pronounced?
Oh, That was just so weird. It felt like someone just pinched my knee.
It was me.
It felt like someone pinched my knee. No,
My
it's
spirit
crazy.
left my body and was like, bitch.
Okay. Remember the screen name for a second, because I have to sidebar.
Okay.
But in finding my psychic guides yesterday, she told me to invite one, like to ask one to come forward to kind of like help me.
Yeah.
And I fucking couldn't see shit. I wasn't seeing shit. The thing I most vividly saw in my meditation last night was fucking mushrooms. Blue and green mushrooms. So is it mushrooms? Are mushrooms my magical guide?
No.
Because when I take mushrooms, I
That was
go to
my
Vietnam.
intuition saying no.
I go to Vietnam when I take mushrooms. Okay, we'll go back to that. But now we'll go back to Viva La Mile.
Stop. Speaking of different open channels, oh my God.
So I had Viva La Hay, H-E-A.
Which, to be fair, I always thought was Viva La He. So.
But I think you got mad at me for copying that.
Can we just clarify that I'm like 16 at this time? This was 3 days ago.
So, but the reason I did that screen name was Viva La Bam.
That was why I had it too, though. By the way, I tried to watch that show in the past 2 years, and I was like, why the fuck did I like this show? It's terrible.
I liked the Unholy One with his wife, Missy. She was hot.
I used to think Bam was hot.
Womp
womp.
Kenny and I joke about me becoming a lesbian in my 40s, but that's another podcast episode.
Listen, I know people that's happened to, so.
So I think that you have leaf tattoos and I have leaf tattoos. And I was thinking about it on the way here,
but we
but
got the Simpson tattoos now.
Oh.
I think we just like the same things.
We do like the same things, but I also think, like, when I look at your tattoos, I'm jealous. Like, your tattoos are fucking dope.
Thank you.
You have the sickest collection of tattoos. That witch one is, like, my favorite. So sometimes I remember, like, our quirky little fights, and maybe in a way, like, you did influence me, because you've always been, like, super pretty naturally. And you've just always had, like, I don't know, like that Stevie Nicks energy, which, by the way, I named her black cat Stevie because of Stevie Nicks.
Her little tag still says Stevie Nicks. It doesn't just say Stevie.
I'm trying to be one and done with kids, but if it ever accidentally happened again and I did have a girl, I was like, would it be weird if I did Stevie, considering I named Stevie the cat?
No.
But I think that you influenced me in a way also.
I think friends always influence each other, though.
True.
But I used to be a little bitch and, like, thought I was special. And I'm so unique with my Viva La Melly screen name. Like, get fucking real.
I'm
like,
dead.
It wasn't even cool.
So I busted into my live journal recently, and my picture icon is John Bender from The Breakfast Club. And then my other one, my screen name is Trash Can Roller. I had Viva La Hay and I had Trash Can Roller. I had 2 motherfucking live journals, as we all had multiples, I think.
My first live journal was Lincoln Park M.
Dead. The only band ones did you have Stars Oblivious at one time, or was that me for AOL?
I think that was you. Yeah.
I might have had Stars Oblivious and then Bohemian Rhapsody. Those are the only music ones I've ever had.
I had Buffy's My Sidekick.
My longest ones were Viva La Hay, Hey Lovas I had for a long time. That was like when I was like 15, 16. Those were my Leroy Hoppin' days. And Where's Heather, I think I had for a little bit of time.
Where's Heather?
Yeah, but my first one ever was Quick 14428, and my friend had Quack 14482 because she lived in Leroy, and the things were opposite. But you have the Bart Simpson tattoo from Treehouse of Terror, and it's a fucking dope tattoo, and I wanted a Halloween tattoo, and I've been trying to find, like, a cool one, because I just found all my Treehouse of Horror VHS tapes, so I have them in the window at Shade, and I've been watching them on, is it Hulu that has it now, all the seasons of Simpsons?
Disney
But
Plus.
they black out shit. Like, and you can't find the Devil's Lettuce fucking shit anywhere. The Flanders. So
I just watched that episode.
I need
last
to
week.
find a VHS thing, because I have, like, Billy Madison and shit at the Liar Liar. Those are all my big ones. But I want to get the Lisa one, where she's the owl.
Yeah, you should.
And I said, we're really going to be twinning.
And then we'll get into a big fight about it.
It'll be 2 years the next time.
No.
No, but so when is the first time you saw a ghost?
Oh, God. Saw, like, an entity or experienced something creepy?
Most recent heart-pounding experience.
Well, that wasn't the question. Let me tell you the first time I saw an entity.
Okay, cool.
Because it was with my mom, and my mom historically has not believed in ghosts. And my dad was much more into the spooky side of things, and he believed in ghosts. So I grew up believing in ghosts because of my dad. But my mom was always like, nah. But so we were hiking on my grandparents' land, and one of their friends had a cabin probably 2 miles out. I don't know. It's hard to know distance when you're a kid. Everything seems so far. But we were hiking back, and it was in the fall, so it was dark. I mean, it was getting dark. And there's a lot of coyotes on that land. So I feel like we were already in a, we were already freaked out, because you can just hear coyotes all around howling.
You're aware.
But we got to this one piece of land. It's called Kessler's, and that was where some of my ancestors had a homestead. And there's really nothing there anymore other than you can see the indentation of where the settlement was. But we saw an entity, like a figure of a man holding a lantern, and it wasn't like a light. It looked like a real person holding a lantern. And so I think our first thought was just that it was somebody trespassing.
Yeah.
But you know when you're scared, and again, like, my mom was probably my age now, 35, 36, and I was 9. We were so scared we didn't say anything out loud.
Yeah.
But there was just, you can feel when the person you're with is scared. So there was just this intense, like, fear built up between us, and we just kept walking. We didn't stop. We didn't call out to the person. And as we got closer to it, it was like it was moving away from us. And then eventually it just faded out.
Was it looking at you?
We weren't close enough to be able to see a face. That's why I thought it was a real person.
Yeah.
Because it was dark out.
Did you recently ask your mom about this experience?
We've talked about it several times. And, well, so once we got back to the cow pasture, where across the cow pasture you can actually see my grandparents' farm. So as soon as we could see the house and the barn, I was like, you saw that, right? And she was like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. But we've talked about it several times, and she's like, yep, that's the only time I've ever experienced anything like that. Because I experience things all the time at my grandparents' house.
Yeah.
But I think the more open you are, the more experiences you will have.
I need to, like, get into my grandparents' house. I need to reach out to my uncle and just take pictures of this place, because it's fucking creepy. And we went there a few years ago, and it's crazy to think of Grandma Sophie and, like, her passing away. I feel like everyone knew my Grandma Sophie. And that was 2012. Was that 20 years ago?
No.
Oh.
11.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's crazy to... Okay, so I was about to say it's crazy. I've been thinking about it all day. Like, how's that 22 years ago? I'm fucked up.
Wait,
2012, I think. So
she must have, okay, the last time I saw Grandma Sophie was that time after I moved back from Cincinnati, right? And then we went to her house.
Yes.
So that must have been right before she passed.
So her house looks the same as it did in the 70s, which I'm sure is the same that it looked in the 50s. Like, old house, the carpet is like that weird, like, I don't even know what texture it would be. It's like almost like you could feel the wood on the bottom. And her house has like the rooms off of the rooms, and there's like an attic that no one goes in, and there's pictures of John F. Kennedy and the Pope on the walls, and it's like wallpaper, but like wallpaper from like the 60s. Like, nothing has changed, and the last time we went there was when Kenny and I started dating, so sometime like after 2016, and the house pretty much looked the fucking same.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, there's just so much fucking energy in this house. My grandfather would always find arrowheads and stuff, so you know there's the Native American history there. The pioneers had a mill there that I just found out, so I think maybe that house was part of like that shit. But I always go back to Grandma Sophie's astrally in my sleep. Like, I feel that as a portal there. But I feel like that the Owaka Trail, like, all that land has that portal feeling. So I'm interested, like, I'm trying to go into this medium training with an open mind, but I'm also trying to be, like, realistic. I don't want I know there's energies. I know there's ghosts. I've seen things. I know that feeling where, like, something's so fucked up. You have that gut feeling in your stomach. Your knees are shaking. Like, that was not real. Or, like, I can't believe that I just saw that or that happened to me. I know that exists, but I'm still skeptical and don't want to get my hopes up. So I'm hoping that I can just, like, open up. But I hope to figure out, I want to, like, do portals more. Like, figure out, because she told me yesterday, the medium, when we were talking about, I feel like I've just said, like, what, and, like, I can't fucking get it out. She was talking about, like, how we're the only beings that follow time. Nobody else follows time. And I'm like, that's fucking kind of wild to think about in a way. Like, people, I think, are aware of time, but in their own ways. Like, we put expectations on relationships and, like, for example, cheating. Cheating is obviously terrible. If you don't, like, if you're not feeling it with someone, then break up. Like, have the decency, just be an adult. It's hard, but I was saying this earlier, it should be normalized to break up when you're not happy anymore.
Yeah.
And it's such like a, oh my God, so-and-so broke up. Like, good for fucking Tammy.
Yummy.
So, I do think humanity puts these unrealistic expectations on people, and that's why there are so many cases of, like, depression and anxiety and all of that. Like, becoming a mom, coming out of my cannabis closet, becoming a business owner, all these things have just helped me become, like, I feel like I'm in my feminist era. Like, I got this. Like, I
This is unrelated, but it's a thought I keep having. Do you think that you have mental blocks when it comes to, like, fully accessing your intuition? Because when you're talking about meditating and, like, coming out of it, and there was something else that sparked me to think about that when you're talking about Grandma Sophie's house. Oh, well, you said you were afraid. Do you think you have these, like, protection blocks in place so that you don't experience things?
That's possible, because I was telling her yesterday that this is kind of opposite, but I was explaining, does it make sense? Like, I see things more when my eyes are open than I do when my eyes are shut. Like, it's like I see you and I can picture, like, the space between my brain, but then there's some kind of space in the middle that I can see.
Do you mean like
a dimension,
your
like
third eye? Like seeing with your third eye?
So that's what I said. I said, is
Okay.
that my third eye? And she said, no, you're seeing like I think she said a different dimension or a different like whatever. So maybe, because I asked her, like, do you get sense right away, like where people are more in tune with their senses? And that's another way to look at it too. If people don't believe in ghosts, like, you have to know somebody that's always like, I have a bad feeling that something's going to happen today, or I have this, and like something always like that's another way of looking at that. Maybe that, whatever that space is that I see with my eyes open, is something that most people don't have. Let's do a part 2. Happy
should.
Halloween!